Well, I was in New York, then I went out to L.A. to work there, and I was doing a lot of theater in New York. Then when I got out to L.A., I did some television, some Hill Street Blues, things like that, some of those older shows. And then all of a sudden, I was trying to break it to big films, and I couldn't do it. It was very difficult. And I just said, well, you know what? If they won't give me a great part, then I'll write one myself. And I started writing about this story that I remember when I was a young boy. I was a little boy sitting on a stoop, and this man killed another guy right in front of me. I thought they were fighting over a parking space. And this one guy protected his friend who got hit with a baseball bat, and he just shot him dead 5 feet from me. Then he turned around, he stared at me, and I kind of like stared at him. Then next minute, I knew my father grabbed me, dragged me upstairs, and the cops came, and I wouldn't identify the man, and I would not speak about it. And then the next day, he saw me again on the stoop, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he was like, I know that you know, and you know that I know that you know. And so he just started talking to me, and he said, come in the bar, make some, lemons and limes, cut the lemons and limes. And I started making cappuccino, and before I knew it, I started working there. And I was really enamored by these wise guys, because they had all the money, they had the women, they had the cars, the Cadillacs. And my father, who was a bus driver, my father Lorenzo, was a working man. And he said, hey, I'm sorry. He goes, you don't respect those guys. Those guys end up dead or in jail. You want to respect somebody, respect me. I'm a working man. He said, get a good job, do whatever you want to do, but be successful and don't waste your talent. And that's how the whole thing started.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the quotes that a lot of people take from A Bronx Tale is the wasted talent quote, which is...
That was my dad. He said, the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. Don't waste your talent, son. And he wrote that on a little card, and he put it in my room when I was 9. And I had it ever since.
And now there's also a huge part of the Italian-American community in the film, in the actual movie, and can you talk about that? What is it, the negative stereotypes that you try to battle in that film and in the performance?
Well, it's funny you said that, Daniela, but a lot of Italian-Americans get upset with sometimes the mafia, and rightly so, and I agree with them with that. But sometimes in my movie is not Goodfellas. Goodfellas, a great film, one of the great films. But my movie is really about the working guy. It's about Lorenzo. It's about the father and the son. But as anything, if you show the light, you have to show the dark. So that's the basic of all drama, good and evil, gray and gray. So when I talk about my dad, so many people say that, the mafia this, the mafia that. And I say, no, you don't get it. The mafia is just this aberration in the Italian-American community. The real community, the fabric that makes up the Italian-American community, in fact, any community, Irish, black, Jewish, Chinese, are the working people. So my movie is about the working people. And that's why I think it's sustained so many years.
And I'm curious to know, too, Lorenzo, who plays the bus driver, who's your father in real life, what was it like working with Robert De Niro as he plays that part in the film? Was this before?
It was real exciting. I mean, obviously, I'm doing the play, and I mean, it's a whole other story when I was doing the show 20 years ago, excuse me, in L.A. and in New York, everybody loved it. They wanted to make it a movie, but they didn't want me. They wanted to put a star in the role, and I refused. And then they offered me $250,000, then $500,000, then $1 million. And at that time, I had $187 in the bank, and I still wouldn't do it. And then Robert De Niro came to see it, and just flipped out over it and said, my God, it's one of the great shows I've ever seen. He says, you've got to play Sonny, and you've got to write the screenplay, because it's about your life. He said, I'll play Lorenzo, and I'll direct it, and we'll go partners. And if you shake my hand, that's the way it will be. You have my word on that. And that's the way it was, and that's how it all happened.
Amazing. Also, I'd like to ask you, 18 characters you play in the actual performance. What advice would you give to someone who's never seen the film? First of all, they have to go out and definitely rent the film before they see it on Broadway.
No, not really.
No?
You could see the play first, or you could see the movie first. It doesn't really matter. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, I loved it seeing the movie first." Then I've had so many people say, "Oh, you know what? I saw the play first, and then I saw the movie. It was even better." So it doesn't really matter. I can only tell you that if you love the show, the movie, you'll love the show even more, because it's a very visceral experience. You saw it on Broadway yourself. Because I am the guy. I am Calogero. So when I tell you the story and I do it, you go, wait a minute, that is the guy. So it's more of a personal connection.
And a one-man show, too. Yeah. How is that? I mean, that must be, you have to do the whole show yourself.
I did the whole movie on stage by myself, yes. I wanted to do something spectacular when I first wrote it. And I said, well, if I'm going to do that, I better really figure something out. I said, well, I'll be the only one on stage. This way they have to notice me. and I worked really hard on it. It took me a year to write it and rehearse it. And then when I put it up, it just was incredible, the reviews, and it's been a smash hit ever since.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate having you here today, and you have to come out to PPAC to see Chazz Palminteri live in his one-man show of A Bronx Tale.
Right. And I'd just like to say that I just did it in Las Vegas last year, and it was voted the best show on the Strip for 2009. So, yeah, so I'm really excited back to do it again here in Providence.
Right. In Providence, too, we have a huge Italian-American community, so I'm sure you'll have a huge following here as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.